Good evening, Guardians, and welcome to episode number 10 of Short Pause Presents Tower Talk. I'm Ben. That's Brent. You know who we are. We're the Destiny loving aficionados of the Short Pause Guardians here. Tower Talk is our Destiny focused video discussion series where we talk any and everything Destiny, anything you want to hear about the game or in terms of our thoughts and opinions about what's going on. You come on here to Tower Talk and we'll give you all you can handle, Brent. That's what we do here on Tower Talk.
Yes,
How
sir.
you doing? How you doing, man? It's been a couple weeks since we've been able to record a Tower Talk.
Yeah, I'm a little tired, dude. Because faction rallies is going on, and just staying up till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning the last couple nights, not doing faction rally stuff. But dude, I actually found a group the other night, and I went through escalation protocol 3 times, man. 3 times we brought the boss down.
Must be nice.
It was very nice. It was super fun too. I recommend you try it sometime.
Yeah, I'll have to give it a go sometime. You know. Yeah, that's great, dude. Obviously, faction rallies going on right now. We're grinding away tokens, trying to get towards that catalyst. The catalyst that's at the end of our particular faction's loot tree.
Mm-hmm.
So Brent, you're grinding away towards that graviton catalyst. I stuck with New Monarchy this season, so I was hoping to be able to wrap up New Monarchy this faction rally, but I don't think I'm going to be able to. So looks like it's going to take me all 3 faction rallies to get New Monarchy finished off and get that sweet business catalyst. But so be it. I'm sure we'll have opportunities to get these other catalysts in the future at other faction rallies. So or maybe they'll give us another way to try to get these catalysts. Not sure if this is a one-time thing or not. But yeah, faction rallies. You know, we've talked about this a little bit before, but I love the changes they made to them. I think they're really fun right now. They're in a good spot. There's just that very big carrot on the end of the stick of that exotic catalyst that's waiting for you that really is driving this event right now. So really enjoying that. I like the renown system a lot too. It gives a nice risk reward to the proceedings, makes lost sectors infinitely more interesting. So a lot of the stuff they set out to do, they've accomplished with faction rallies right now in season 3. So definitely enjoying that. But we've got pressing matters to attend to, Brett. Not in the here and now, but in the future.
Yes.
So Bungie came out with the new weekly update today. There's this was a good one. There's a lot of stuff in here to talk about. So let's get right to this. First and foremost, they released this new calendar for us. So, you know, they talked about communicating more with their players in terms of when particular events are happening. So they said that they've got some feedback from Guardians in terms of, you know, we'd like to know a little bit sooner when Iron Banner's happening, when faction rallies happening, so we can kind of plan and prepare for this stuff. So Bungie's like, okay, cool. So what they've done is they've kind of laid out what July is going to look like for Destiny 2. So let's go through what we can expect here. So July 3rd through the 9th, so next week. Faction rallies winter week, of course, which I don't know. The community seems to be rallying behind future Warcult here, Brent. I think there's a very good chance that the Warcult pulls its first faction rally victory. We'll see once all is said and done. I guess it kind of depends on how many people completed their Dead Orbit campaign the first time around, because everybody's still gunning for that Graviton Catalyst. If there's still a bunch of people that did not secure that throughout the first faction rally, I think there's a good chance that Dead Orbit wins this one as well. We will see what becomes of that. Mayhem enters the Crucible playlist next week. And then, an interesting one here, Brent. I'm curious what you make of this, but Bungie Day is specified on here. 7/7, so Bungie's number is 7. July 7th every year is Bungie Day. Typically, it's like a fan appreciation day. Then they do some cool stuff here and there, sometimes through the Bungie store or through some other things that they do. But they specifically placed it on the Destiny 2 roadmap here. Do you think we're going to get something special on Bungie Day this year? Maybe in-game? Maybe an emblem or something to that effect?
I hope it's something like that. Something in-game is always nice. I mean, obviously, I'm always down to buy some new gear. You know, if Bungie's going to have sales at Bungie.net, I will definitely pick up some new shirts. But it'd be cool to see it kind of make its way into the game, you know, whether it's like an emblem or maybe some kind of like a shader. I think a shader would be cool if you pop that on your gear and you kind of got like a Bungie Day shader. I think that'd be pretty cool. So, yeah, it could be anything along those lines.
Yeah. Do you think it's a safe bet, though, just because it's on the roadmap here for the month of July? And, you know, to my knowledge, as far as I can remember back over the Bungie days since Destiny's been out, I don't remember there ever being anything in-game that happened on Bungie Day. Do you? Do you remember them ever doing anything?
I don't, but at the same time, I don't ever remember seeing roadmaps like this prior to Destiny 2.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, this roadmap thing, this is still kind of new for us. So the fact that they had Bungie Day on there could mean something, it could mean nothing at all. Because, I mean, we got Guardian Con on there, and not too often do we see something in-game regarding Guardian Con. So, it could be something, it could be nothing. We'll find out on the 7th.
Yeah, I think that is a valid point. So we'll see next week when Bungie Day arrives. Following that, July 10th through the 16th, so Iron Banner returns.
Yes.
So definitely we'll be hopping back in there and trying to grind away. Got a long way to go with Iron Banner. Did not get to play the banner as much as I wanted to last week, Brent. I'm sitting in the teens right now in terms of my ranking. Still got a long way to go to get up to level 35 with Iron Banner this season. So got some grinding to do there. And as you mentioned, Guardian Con, July 13th through the 14th. Brent, why are we not going to Guardian Con?
Because we work, we have kids, and yeah, that pretty much sums it up.
Man, if there was one convention out of the entire season that we would go to, it would be Guardian Con, I would have to assume.
I don't know, man. Lebowski Fest is usually pretty hopping. I've always wanted to go to Lebowski Fest, but yeah, Guardian Con is up there as well.
Yeah, this particular year is going to be extra special too. Bungie is going to be there in person. I'm sure they're going to be doing some cool stuff. Of course, Gambit will be playable there for the Guardian Con attendees. So this sounds like this would have been a great year to go. Maybe next year. We'll see if we can get into Guardian Con. Then the big one, Brent, is the following week. So July 17th through the 23rd. This sees update 1.2.3, which I'll touch on in 1 second. This drops on July 17th. This is the final week of faction rallies for Season 3. The final week. So we'll talk some more about that in a second as well. And Supremacy enters the Crucible playlist. July 24th through the 30th is Faction Rallies Winners Week, and then Doubles enters the Crucible weekly playlist. And then on July 31st, the big Solstice of Heroes event begins. So we are going to dive a little bit deeper into some of this stuff now. Just to remind everybody too, Brent, this is so July 17th. That's the big update. That's the 1.2.3 update. Currently, this is the last update scheduled for Season 3, the last update for Destiny 2 before Year 2, before Forsaken arrives in September. So once again, just to remind everybody what we're looking at here, here's what we can expect on July 17th for the Solstice of Heroes update. The Solstice of Heroes seasonal event, which we know the update will make it ready on July 17th, but it actually starts on July 31st. 6v6 Crucible playlist, we'll talk more about in a second. Permanent Rumble playlist. Bounties, we still have not learned about. So we've still got to learn about what that's going to entail July 17th. The Prestige Raid Layers, we'll definitely touch on that in a second. Some awesome stuff with that. PC Clan text chat. Year 1 Triumphs is the other big one that we have not heard about yet. So Bounties and Year 1 Triumphs are the two items from the July 17th update that remain shrouded in mystery. And then more exotic armor sandbox changes, which Bungie actually touched on last week. I want to get your thoughts on that real quick, Brent. So last week, they kind of outlined some of the other pieces of armor they're looking at for the update. Just to touch on this real quick. So for the Hunter, they're updating the Lucky Raspberry, the Stompies, and the Young Ahamkara Spine. Any of these stick out to you? Is there any particular one that you used before that you may be looking forward to? Just so everybody knows, Lucky Raspberry, increased chance to fully charge your Arc Bolt Grenade on Arc Bolt Grenade hits. And the cool thing about this now is it guarantees a recharge on getting a full chain that hits 4 targets. So if you are throwing your grenade into a crowd, that thing's guaranteed to recharge. Stompies, increased benefits when using strafe jump and triple jump. So it's not just for high jump anymore. And then Young Ahamkara Spine removed the marking functionality, but it improves the trip mine grenades, blast radius, and throw speed. So it makes your trip mine grenades harder to destroy. Any of these stick out to you?
I don't really use any pieces of those, any of those pieces of gear. I have the Stompies just in case for whatever reason I might need it, but I rarely roll with Arc Strider. So I don't really use the arc grenades, and then the trip mines I don't use very often either. So I mean, out of these ones, I mean, it sounds cool the changes that are coming to it, but if there's one I'm looking forward to, it's probably going to be Stompies. Because like I said, I very rarely ever use Arc Strider for whatever reason. It's totally unappealing compared to like Golden Gun and when you're using Night Stalker.
Yeah. Arc Strider definitely a PvP class. I think first and foremost that thing is nasty in the Crucible. There's no doubt about it. I've been killed by Arc Strider more times than I'd like to admit. But so yeah, if you don't rock that class in the Crucible, it probably doesn't get too much use. On the Titan side of things, we'll have to ask Dark Shadow Wolf about what he thinks about these updates.
Right.
But the feedback fence got an update to it. So it stacks on melee hits instead of kills for its kind of fury move, or it unleashes an explosion like after a melee hit. Doomfang Pauldron's also getting updated. A void melee kill now grants more super energy, and shield throw hits will now extend the duration of your super. And then Dune Marcher, so reduce the time to activate linear actuators while you are sprinting from 1.5 seconds to 1.5 seconds, down from 5 seconds, which is incredible. Now to my baby, the Warlock. So Crown of Tempest collapsed the total number of stacks of conduction times to 3 with the same total effect, and each stack lowers the upkeep of Storm Trance. So a nice update for Stormcallers. The Karnstein Armlets removed melee hit effects, and melee kills now instantly heal you, then grant continuous healing for 8 seconds, which is awesome. 8 seconds. That's a long time to get continuous healing. So I'll tell you what, man, these armlets combined with the Sunbracer update before, where you get the 6 grenades after a melee kill. There's some sweet gauntlets for the Warlock right now. And the Starfire Protocol, empowering Rift weapon damage, will now grant fusion grenade energy, which is great. Starfire Protocol grants you an extra fusion grenade as it is, so that is going to be a good one to put on the Warlock as well. Really like the Karnstein armlets though. That's one I'm going to have to come back and rock. So that's just briefly touching on the exotic armor updates. Wanted to hit that because that is coming on the July 17th update. So I'm looking forward to that. Looking forward to getting more, just differentiating those exotic pieces even more is always nice. I enjoyed what they did with the first round of those updates. So let's dig into the meat of this week's update though, Brent. And first thing we're going to touch on is the Crucible here. So as I mentioned in the 1.2.3 update, there's some changes coming to Quick Play. So first and foremost, and I believe all of this stuff is actually set to come. So all of this will arrive with the 1.2.3 update. And there's more than just those quick play changes, man. Mm-hmm. So quick play is increasing the player configuration to 6v6 and updating the playlist description. Supremacy is being removed from the pool of available game modes in quick play. Control will be updated to a win score of 150, and all control zones will initially be neutral now, a la Iron Banner.
I like that.
And Clash, updating Clash a win score to 100. So you now have to score 100 to win a match of Clash. In competitive, how about this? The bomb fuse timer has been lowered from 40 seconds to 35 seconds. I'm on board with that change. Mm-hmm. I do think the fuse lasts a little bit too long. Sometimes you set the bomb and then you're like just wrecking people, and then a guy still comes through. It seems like forever later, and they kill you, and they're able to disable the bomb. You're like, man, that thing should have blown up by now.
Right. So, this is the future. Why is it 40 seconds?
Yeah. So So 5 seconds doesn't seem like a lot, but in a competitive setting, it's a lifetime. So I think that's going to be a good change there. Rumble, as mentioned, will become a full-time playlist now. So people have been asking for this since Destiny 2 came out. It will finally be a thing. And then Supremacy will actually be added to the weekly featured playlist, which will be updated to 6v6 and have a win score of 150. So good change for Supremacy, I think, getting on the 6v6 bandwagon and just hopping into the weekly rotation on the playlist. Now there's some really cool stuff here with the ranks. So with Crucible ranks, players will now be able to earn Valor from additional playlists. This is huge because I wanted this. I know a lot of Destiny players wanted this, but the competitive playlist, Crucible Labs, Iron Banner, which is the big one, and Trials of the Nine will all contribute to your Valor rank now, which is great. Because I haven't been earning a lot of Valor because we've been playing competitive in Iron Banner. Right. So I haven't been able to really focus on Valor, but to be able to get that in the other game modes now is awesome. Joining a game in progress, this is huge, will protect your Valor win streak for that game. If you lose, no penalties incurred to your Valor win streak. If you win, your Valor win streak increases. That's basically a win-win for us. Players will be matched using their glory rank. This means your opponents will be of similar rank to you. The higher you climb, the tougher the opponent. Very interesting change there. Glory, and this might be the biggest one though. Glory loss streaks will be retuned to be less punishing over time. Consecutive losses will actually decrease the rank points lost instead of increasing, and streaks will still cap out at 5. So before Brent, it was like 10, 15, 20,
Right.
25 was how you lost your points. Now it's going to be 10, 8, 7, 6, or something along those lines in terms of the points that you lose. It's actually going to decrease as you go on instead of increase, which is interesting. And then another big one here too: all rank streaks will no longer reset once they hit their cap. So if you hit that 5 rank streak,
Oh, you keep getting the points.
Yeah, you just keep getting the 5 streaks.
Oh, nice.
From what I can tell on that. So there's many more changes coming to Destiny 2 in July, and this is just a little bit of a glimpse into what the patch notes are going to look like when that update comes out. So Brent, let me get your thoughts on this, man. There's a lot of good stuff in here for the Crucible. I'm on board with every single one of these changes. I think these are all great changes to the Crucible, and it's just going to make things more fun. What sticks out to you? What do you think of everything on this list?
First of all, the Crucible ranks update with the Valor will count against all the playlists. That's really, really cool. That's awesome because it makes sense because Valor never goes down. So why does it matter if it counts towards everything else? I think that's and it keeps Valor. It keeps all those. Like you said, if you're playing Iron Banner all the time, if you're playing competitive all the time, you're losing out at chances at earning the ornaments and the gear that you get from Valor. So this allows you to earn that as well. I think that's a great idea, but I like that Glory is still tied to competitive and only competitive. That's cool. Glory needs to be unique in its own way because it is a little bit more hardcore. So
I'm actually I'm a little bit surprised that they added it to all those playlists. I was honestly just hoping for Iron Banner. I was hoping they would add that to the Valor rotation, but to see them do Crucible Labs competitive and Trials as well, that was a pleasant surprise.
Yeah. Jacob in the chat, I want to bring this up for just a moment. He said, it really sucks that they are making light level count in Trials when Forsaken drops because that will be a big problem for noobs and people that don't have the DLCs and Iron Banner as well. Man, Jacob, and I understand your point, but at the same time, I love that that the light levels, the power levels are going to matter. I mean, that's what always made Iron Banner unique in Destiny 1, and it always separated it from competitive and quick play and all that stuff. It was Iron Banner. I mean, you work your ass off to get your power level up really high. Those people that put the time in for it should be rewarded for it. If noobs are worried about getting housed, they can go play quick play. They can go play competitive. But Iron Banner is where you go to show off your rank, to dominate if you put in the time for it. And I love that part of it. I love that part. Even if I'm not up to snuff, if I'm not on the same level as some of the higher ranked people, that doesn't mean I'm going to lose. I've gone into Iron Banner before in Destiny 1, and I was lower rank, and I was taking out people with higher light levels, and that's rewarding to me. That's awesome. That's a great feeling knowing I can go in there and hang with these big dogs. So it still comes down to how good you are. I mean, the light level plays a part in it, yes, but it's not such a massive advantage where you're going to be at a disadvantage if you're a lower level. You can still go in there and wreck people, and I love that. But I love the fact that the people that put in the time for it, they're going to get rewarded for it. And I'm super excited that light level, power level, or whatever you want to call it, is going to be a factor in Iron Banner and Trials going forward.
I agree with you 100%. We've talked about this many, many times on Tower Talk, on the podcast, outside of this, just talking to each other. Like, power levels mattering in Iron Banner and Trials. Trials is the pinnacle PvP activity in Destiny. Like, your power level should matter. Like, that should be the cream of the crop in Trials playing that mode. That should not be a mode where new players are in there playing against other players. Like, that should be for the best of the best in terms of the PvP players. That's how that mode was initially envisioned, and I think that's where that mode excels.
Yeah, and I think that falls under the whole make this thing a hobby because, look, Bungie tried to pay attention or tried to give a lot to the casual fans when Destiny 2 launched, and they paid the price for it. The community was pissed, and by making Iron Banner accessible to everyone, that's catering to the casual crowd. Now, if they're going to make everything hardcore again and make this game a hobby, then they got to do things that make you want to go out there and play and make you buy into that hobby. And that's where power level comes in, and that's why it's going to be important for Iron Banner and Trials. They're going to give the people who, like I said, spend hundreds of thousands of hours playing this game, they're going to give them some advantage because, damn it, they've earned it, and I dig that. But I'm going to jump from that. I'm going to go right back to what we were talking about. We talked about the Valor counting. The other thing that I really like is the control. Updating control will now go to 150. and control zones will now initially be neutral across the board. I love that. I think that's really good. I like the fact that not A and C is automatically captured. You have to capture them all. I like that a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I dig that too. I know they tried to change with Destiny 2 where they made only the middle one neutral, but yeah, I think just after playing it for a while, it became clear that the first iteration of Control was the way to go. Like the first Destiny 1 rules were Control were the superior one. So yeah, I'm big fan of that. Like I said, man, I'm a fan of everything on this list. To me, this all makes sense. And this coupled with what we're seeing with the power levels mattering, like we were just talking about, like this is just elevate the Crucible to an even another level for me, and I'm really enjoying the Crucible right now, and looks like it's only gonna get better from there, man. But yes, some big changes. That the lost streak one is huge as well.
Yeah.
That's really going to be a help in trying to get those competitive points and work towards that Redrix's Claymore, man. We've got some work to do with that thing.
Yeah. And it does, it does need that penalty. It does need a penalty because but the fact that it's not going to be as harsh because there's going to be times where it still hasn't been fixed yet. Where if you jump into a match of competitive with some randos, you still are getting matched up once in a while against clans, and when that happens, it's over quickly. Unless you just stumble across the Short Paws Guardians, then you have a fighting chance. But that's
what we're there for.
But this will kind of make the grief from that a little bit easier. Okay, I can, I'll still have a chance. I'm not losing as many points. So I like that they added in there. I mean, it still needs to be in there. That's what separates glory from valor. So that still needs to be in there. But I like the fact that it's not going to be as punishing.
No, I agree with that 100% as well. The punishment is there, but like you said, it's not as severe. It's something that, because man, if you get sometimes you're unlucky, sometimes you're just not skilled enough, or you run into a group that's just that much better than you. But sometimes you just run into a little bit of bad luck here and there, and you can get on one of those streaks, and it just devastates like your progress.
Yeah.
you spend the whole night, you make some good wins, and then you run into a couple of bad matches, and you're back to where you started, or maybe even less than where you started. So it is tough, and that's part of the whole point of the ranking system, but I do like that they're at least giving people a little bit of a fighting chance now in terms of those lost streaks. So moving on from there, Brent, we're going to talk about the prestige raid layers, and there are some big changes coming to these things that the Destiny community is going to be very, very excited about.
Yeah.
So with the 1.2.3 update, once again on July 17th, both of the raid layers will be updated. So that's Spire of Stars and Eater of Worlds will both be updated with the prestige versions of these raid layers. So here's what you get from prestige raid layers: 400 power weapons. So let me say that again: 400 power weapons.
Oh boy!
The current max power level in Destiny 2 is 385. So this is a significant upgrade from the prestige raid layers. The only way to get 400 power armor, Brent, before Forsaken is by participating in the summer solstice event. But the only way to get 400 power weapons before Forsaken is by completing Prestige, Spire of Stars, and Eater of Worlds. Every time you complete all the encounters in a Prestige raid layer that week, you will be rewarded a 400 power raid weapon.
Ugh.
This can be any raid weapon from Destiny 2, not just the weapons that drop in that raid layer. So that's a big change. And this is one of the things that the community's been upset with about the raid layers in particular has been the loot pool, or the loot tree that they've added to the raid with these raid layers. Like, these raid layers are a lot of fun from what we understand. They're challenging from what we understand, and the rewards just weren't there. This is exactly what the community wanted. This is the only place you're going to be able to go in and get 400 power weapons, and any of the raid weapons will be able to drop with that power. So that's a big change. Raid armor ornaments. Each prestige raid layer has its own set of unique ornaments. And another big one here, exotic masterwork catalyst. Both raid layers have a masterwork catalyst that can only be found as a rare drop in this activity. So Brent, let me get your thoughts on this. So like I said, the outcry from the community was, we want the raid layers to have loot and things that matter, because these things are hard. These things are hard as hell.
Right.
The Spire of Stars is extremely difficult from what we understand. So people are going in here, especially if they're about to do a prestige version of this, like they want something a nice little carrot at the end of that stick.
Yeah.
How about 400 power weapons, exclusive ornaments, and an exotic catalyst? Is that enough of a carrot for you at the end of that?
Yes,
stick?
it is. Yes, it is. Yeah, and with this announcement, dude, no offense to the rest of the Guardians, I'm going to start using guided games for the raid. I am going to start getting in there. I do want some of this gear. I know you'll come with me.
Yep.
But, yeah, this is just something I want to earn. And, again, this is going to be pretty cool because if you're able to get the 400 weapons and you're able to get the 400 gear and, again, only the elite players are going to be able to get this stuff. And so when Iron Banner does roll around again, when Forsaken drops and the power level is going to matter, the people that put in the work, that put in the time to get the best stuff will have the advantage. And I love that. I think that's great.
Yeah, and I like the fact that even prior to Forsaken, like when you see a guy running around that's a 400 light level, like you're gonna know he's a badass. Like he went through the prestige raid layers. He participated in the. That's the other thing. So they slipped this in here, Brent. But the only way to get 400 power armor before Forsaken is by participating in the Summer Solstice event. So we've been wondering like what exactly this event is going to entail, and we're still wondering. We don't have the specifics of it yet, but right there, this tells me this is going to be a significant event. You can get 400 power armor only as a part of this event. So right away, there's going to be the entirety of the Destiny community is already interested in what Solstice of Heroes is going to have to offer. This doesn't sound like another Dawning. Like this sounds like something more akin to the Age of Triumphs from Destiny 1, where there's just all this new loot and all the raids came back and there was it was a big celebration and everybody was excited about it. This seems like this is going to be this is just our first little taste of it, but 400 power armor in that Summer Solstice event is exciting. But yeah, this is exactly what people wanted, man. And like you said, we got to get in here. We got to start doing these raid layers. I'm quite sure that this is going to be one of the moments of triumph that you need to complete in order to wrap that up. So definitely need to get in there and do that. And then man, I was reading a little bit about the exotic catalysts earlier that are probably going to be a part of this. I believe Sleeper Simulant is one of them. Not 100% sure, but there's going to be a couple of them that have their catalyst in here, so that's just going to push people even further. Catalyst's been a huge addition to Destiny 2 right now.
I know. How many do you have again?
Moving on. So this is how the actual act of playing a prestige raid layer is going to change. So each week there is a curated weapon suite and a global activity modifier for Spire of Stars and Eater of Worlds. The weapon set and modifier will be the same across both activities. Curated weapon loadouts are based on weapon archetypes. So over the summer, you might see combinations that require you to equip auto rifle, submachine gun sniper rifle, or scout rifle, hand cannon, rocket launchers. If you remember, Brent, they talked about this a few months back with some of the ideas they had for the prestige raid layers and how they wanted to change the way you play them. And this is one of the ideas we have, and I actually think this sounds really cool. So loadouts are not locked inside the prestige raid layer either. You can bring tons of different guns into a raid layer and swap between them at will as long as the gun meets the required curation. So for example, if you were doing Spire of Stars and the loadout is auto rifle, submachine gun, sniper rifle, you might want to use Suros Regime for Valkor Phase 1, but swap to Ghost Primus for Valkor Phase 2 so you can equip Darcy for boss damage. So you can actually play with the loadout as long as you still follow the required specs there inside of the raid layer. So that's cool. We are shipping 3 activity modifiers that the raid layers rotate between. 2 of these modifiers are brand new and were built from the ground up by the raid team to work in raids. Love that. The third is a fan favorite from Destiny 2, Prism. What is Prism? Do you remember what that is?
I do not recall what Prism is.
I don't recall what that is either. There's probably some people watching this like, you dummy, it's this.
Jacob,
Sorry,
if you know, let us know. Jacob's in the
Prism
chat. I know Jacob's very knowledgeable, so if he knows what Prism is, let us know.
Each of these modifiers is designed to provide Guardians with advantages over their enemies when they lean into it. So it sounds like these are designed not as negatives for you, but as positives. The goal of using these modifiers and loadouts is to change the way you engage with prestige rating each week. The first week, the modifier and weapon loadout might synergize really well with strategies and armor exotics you've been using for months. Next week, the modifier and weapon loadout might push you to explore the encounter in a different way and use different exotic armors. So Brent, What do you think of this system, man? Does this sound like a fun way to engage with the raid?
Yeah, I think it does. I mean, and the fact that you can bring other weapons of those types, so you don't have to just, it's not like the Nightfall where you're locked in, you are locked in and you're stuck. You can't do it. With this stuff with the raid, I think that's cool that you can still bring in different types as long as it meets the requirements for each slot. I think that's a cool idea.
Yeah. So there's a couple questions that arose out of this. So is anything happening to the prestige version of the Leviathan raid or the main raid in Destiny 2? No. This will stay exactly the same as it is. This particular weapon curation and modifier will only apply to the raid layers. However, they slipped this in here, Brent. It might be worth going back and playing some more Leviathan Prestige to see if Callus has a new way to enhance one of your favorite exotic shotguns, which is undoubtedly the Legend of Acrius, which is the gun you have to earn from that raid to begin with. So it makes sense that the catalyst for it would be involved in the Prestige version of that raid. So there's going to be many, many people wanting to go back and run through the Prestige version to get the catalyst for the Acrius, man. Are Prestige raid layers getting per encounter changes? No. So this is another interesting change. So as a big part of Destiny 1 and from what I believe is in the Leviathan raid, the encounters change a little bit when you get into the Prestige version. So different mechanics, some different things that you got to take into account. That will not be the case here. We believe these modifiers and loadouts will create more variety in your Prestige gameplay than small per encounter changes. So that's what they're looking at in terms of the raid layers. How many of the Prestige raid activities will be active each week? Here's the cool thing: all of them. Do you want to play all 3 Prestige raid activities each week on 3 different classes for maximum exotic catalyst and 400 power weapon farming potential? Go for it. How about that, man?
Wow.
That's pretty sick. And when will the Prestige layers become available? They will go live the minute the patch hits. This is another big change. So typically when they do a raid, it's a race for worlds first. They put it out typically on a Friday or sometime at the end of the week, give people a chance to get up to the proper level and then let them go. But it sounds like they're not planning to do this with the Prestige raid layers. They're planning to just let loose on the community, let them go after it. Partly it seems like maybe because there's no encounter changes here. It's basically the same raid, just with the different loadouts and stuff. So, but they do say that they're soliciting feedback from that, just in case that's not what the community wants. So. What do you think about all this, Brent? How does all this sound for the Prestige layer? Man, just reading this, I'm excited. Like we need to get into this thing like ASAP.
Dude, reading all this stuff and hearing the changes and everything that's going to do with the carrots at the end of the second, there's a lot of carrots here, is the main reason why I'm going rogue and just going to bring you along. We're just going to go guiding games and jump in and play it that way. I'm done waiting. I'm done trying to set things up. We are going to start knocking out this raid, whether it's with people we know or if it's randos. I don't care. We have to do this raid. We have to start knocking it out.
Yeah, I'm ready, dude. I mean, we're 3 raids into Destiny 2 at this point, and we haven't even sniffed completing one of them.
Yeah,
so
it's terrible.
It's really a shame at this point. So yeah, we will definitely be doing that. But I love when I'm reading about the Prestige raids. I mean, with all of the new stuff you're gonna have access to, I mean, it's just people are gonna be very, very excited about what's going on in the Prestige raids now. It's just they've gained so much flexibility, I feel, Brent, with these exotic catalysts now, and their ability to sprinkle them into every single activity in Destiny. You've got a chance to find one of these things in every single thing that you do. And it really encourages you to just experience the breadth of content that Destiny 2 has to offer, because these catalysts fundamentally change these exotic weapons. I mean, they almost transform them into brand new weapons in some cases. So people want these things. They want to go do all these different activities that are in the game now. So this has been a huge boon for the game. I think it's been a great idea. The community's received it well. Everybody's out there grinding for these things. So it's really, really cool to see that. It's a very fun time to be a fan of Destiny right now as they're adding all the stuff and making all these changes to the game. So one more thing we need to touch on before we wrap up here, Brent, and that's the collections. Something I'm very interested in, something you're very interested in. So we've got some questions here. What items from Year 1 inventory will collections track? So as of right now, collections are set to track weapons, armor piece, ghost ships, sparrows, emblems, or shaders, any of those available in Year 1 of Destiny 2. Is there anything I can dismantle before Forsaken launches? If you have an item in your inventory right now, you can safely discard it and retrieve it from the collections in September. This does not include consumables, so hang on to those if they matter to you. And this is also important. If I dismantled something previously, will it be waiting in my collections this September? Your collection will begin with every piece of gear that you were holding in inventory or within your vault upon the launch of Warmind. If you had dismantled an item prior to May 8th, it will not be available within your collections. So that's an interesting distinction there. So anything that you had in your possession from Warmind forward will all be included in your collections. Anything you dismantled previously will not. So in my case, I kept most of the weapons, but I'm sure there's like some ghost shells or some sparrows that I eliminated or some ships along the way that that I might not have access to currently. So I will have to look into that. This is also very interesting. What items from year 2 can be reacquired from collections? With the addition of random perk rolls to items starting in year 2, we had to make a tough call for collections. We investigated numerous options for gear with random perks, fixed collection perks, buyback limits, reroll mechanics, and many others. But each of these came with issues that impacted the collection's experience in a negative manner. Ultimately, we decided to disable purchase of all year 2 randomly rolled legendary weapons and armor. We don't like keeping some items from experiencing the full collection's treatment, so we're looking for a long-term solution for storing your exact perk rolls in collections. So, what do you think about that, Brent? That makes sense to you?
I mean, it does, but it's also kind of confusing. But I understand they don't want to break the game, and that's something that they're concerned about if they go this route. But I do hope they come up with a way to kind of like, so you can kind of save that God roll gun, you know, the perfect setup. Hopefully there's a way you can secure that in case you accidentally do. I mean, at the same time, not too many people are going to go out and shard a God roll gun. So I guess I can understand that portion of it.
Yeah. So this is something else people are interested in. How much will it cost to reacquire items out of your collections? We're currently working on costs for item acquisition, and we'll have more information at a later date. But here's the 2 main goals they're looking at with this. So they don't want reacquisition to be a currency sink. They aren't trying to make you spend all of your hard-earned glimmer. They just want to make sure that the items have a value out in the world. So it's not like, oh, I got this gun, I'll shard it, I can buy it back for 2 legendary shards or 100 glimmer or something like that. Like they still want these things to have some kind of value to you when you get them. Players won't have to deal with currency conversion. So, for example, if you get a shader that dismantles into glimmer, it costs glimmer to reacquire. If you have something that from Eververse that dismantles into bright dust, you have to use bright dust to purchase it back. So there's no different currencies that you have to get into. Then there's the cost of shaders. What we can say is that there will be a cost to reacquire shaders from collections, but there will no longer be a cost to apply shaders to your gear.
That's good.
So here's a quick example. Let's say you got that sweet Callus's Treasured shader to drop from the raid. You're able to apply it immediately at no cost. If you want that specific shader on all your armor, weapons, ghost, ship, and sparrow, you'll need to pay some glimmer to reacquire a handful of copies straight out of collections. That sounds reasonable to me.
I think that sounds fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that you can just purchase as many as you need. You know, so if you want to just deck out your whole entire squad with this shader, then you can do that. And then how about this little note? Purple and gold looks fantastic on the upcoming Tangled Shore Warlock Armored set. You heard it here first. So I will be on the lookout for that.
Is it going to make you play better?
Stop it. Oh. So when reacquiring gear from collection, what power level will they be? Another interesting point here. Collection items will come out to your current power level, but will require infusion to be ready for endgame activities. This is a delicate balance of making sure collections don't create a leveling exploit, but still providing items that are usable right away in most activities. If there are things you're eager to know more about, leave a post in the Destiny 2 forum. So they've made this clear. Like if there's stuff you want to know about or things you have more questions about, like they're going to be tackling this stuff throughout this week at Bungie throughout the summer. So they'll be looking for trending topics and all of that kind of stuff. So Brent, what do you think about all this stuff with the collections, man? Does this sound like what you're looking for out of this?
Absolutely, because I like the fact, the whole thing that you can just how you can just go in and grab the shader that you want. I love that, and the fact that you can go grab whatever guns you want to get. So, and plus it also, the collections, hopefully they'll also tell you how you can get the guns that you're missing. But I just love the fact that you can go in there and just grab the gun that you want or grab the shader. The shader one I absolutely love because there's so many times where like I'll have Iron Banner armor sets or maybe the Dead Orbit armor set where I'm like, God, I need a couple more of these shaders so I can do the guns as well. And you got to go out and earn them. This way you can just buy them. And I love that. That's really good.
Yeah, I love that too, and I don't have to have 150 blue Atlantis shaders like in my inventory. I can get rid of those, and I can just buy the ones that I actually want of that shader if I want it.
Right.
So I really like the way that sounds. To me it makes sense too with the random rolls being in year two. Like we can't have random rolls and collections like and you be able to just buy the gun back or whatever, right? It just doesn't go together. So to me it makes sense that you won't be able to use the collection system with the year two items. But they do say, in here, just to reiterate, they're looking at a long-term solve for storing your exact perk rolls in collections. So maybe if you pull a specific kind of gun, it will save that roll in the collection slot, and you can pull that roll back out at some point in the future. That might be a happy medium there,
right,
with the collection system. But yeah, I love to collect things. It's one of my OCD things. So just the fact that they're adding this into the game now, I mean, this is really gonna drive me nuts, dude. I'm gonna open this thing up and I'm be like, oh, I'm missing this gun, I'm missing that piece of armor. Let me go find this. I'm just as if I don't have enough stuff to do in this game right now. This is probably gonna drive me batty. So, but yeah, that is going to do it for this week at Bungie. This was a pretty beefy update, a lot of exciting things, some things I didn't expect to see, and just that brief little hint about the Solstice, Brent, with the 400 power armor. It's got me really excited to see what is going to become of that event. Also, it sounds like we're going to get a new development roadmap, maybe as early as next week.
Yeah,
so we can be on the lookout for that as well. And maybe there'll be another update before Forsaken. Who knows? Or maybe they'll just fill in some of the stuff with Forsaken. But there's still a lot of stuff that we don't know about what's going on with Solstice of Heroes, with with Season 3, with Forsaken. There's still a lot of questions about how that whole structure is going to look when that game comes out. I've been hearing rumblings about maybe them bringing back the weekly story activity, or the heroic story or whatever that you used to be able to play every day in Destiny 1.
Yes.
So it sounds like they're going to be doing some changing things with the director as well, and how we engage with weekly activity. So we don't know anything about any of that stuff yet. So I'm excited, man. But yeah, anything else you want to touch on here or talk about?
No, man. I mean, I think we hit on everything. This was a good update. There's a lot of good stuff in there. Like you mentioned, we want to know more about bounties. We want to know more about what was the other thing that we talked about?
Triumphs.
Triumphs. I mean, we're gonna start learning about this stuff.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if you look at this thing, the July events, you'll notice it says final faction rallies of season 3 is July 17th to the 23rd. That's the final time that we're gonna get faction rallies this season. So they're clearing up August right now. We're not going to have a faction rallies in August. So whatever the Solstice of Heroes is, and whether or not that's like an Ages of Triumph, they're clearing up August for all of us to get that grinded. Now it doesn't say this is the last Iron Banner, so I'm assuming there'll be one more. But they want to keep a lot of those events out of there so everyone can just focus on their triumphs. So, that's another thing I kind of took away from this thing is like they're clearing the path for August. I mean, this Solstice of Heroes begins on July 31st. And then you're going to have an entire month to work on your triumph. So that book is going to be big, and there's going to be a lot of stuff to do ahead of the Forsaken drop.
Yeah, that's a great point. I'm glad you brought that up with the final. Man, the final faction rally is coming up soon, so we're gonna have to grind that out. And then, like you mentioned, they didn't say the final Iron Banner, so I think we can expect one, maybe even 2 or 3 more of those before the season's all said and done. But that's the moral of the story is, man, there's a ton of content coming between now and Forsaken. There's a ton of content coming after Forsaken. So we are going to be very, very busy with Destiny 2 and the things we have to do in this game. Like I said, man, it's a really, really fun time to be involved in this game, to be a fan of this game, to see all the things that they're changing and all the feedback that they're taking. They really are making this the game that the fans are requesting of them right now. I'm really, really enjoying it right now, and I can't wait to see what Solstice of Heroes brings on July 31st, man. It's going to be some fun.
Oh, yeah.
So that is going to do it for us. We'll be back maybe next week. Probably next week. Sounds like there'll be a pretty beefy This Week at Bungie next week as well. So subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell so you get our updates. We'd love to see you in the comments like Jacob, dropping by and participating in the show here. But we do Tower Talk live usually on Thursday or Friday night. And we just sit here and talk everything Destiny. So make sure you subscribe and leave a like if you like what we do here. So, for Ben, for Brent, follow us at The Short Pause on Twitter. We'll see you guys next week. Have a good one.
See you guys.